Triforce. Enjoy the show.
Welcome, Walljangers. It has been a while, but we are back, of course, in, triangular fashion. None other than the Triforce Podcast. I am your host, Matthew Bucarell, the Matt Man. To my left is Katarina Thermascara, one of a woman. And below me, but still above me, is one Christopher Bristow, the old man.
As it should be.
As always, all around us is omnipotent presence that is Stephen Bucarell, Big Brother. And, of course, we want you to hop over to facebook.com/TriforcePod to get all of our latest content. Hop on over to pjandewh.com to find all of our content, including lug nuts, as well as all of our goodies. And then, once more, we want you to hop on over to our Spotify. Just search PJANDWH, and that's where you, like Katarina, are going to help support the podcast. When she's not on, she is always listening. Yeah. So we start off this podcast the same damn way. Tonight, Marvel's director delay shuffle. The Doctor gets a regeneration date.
Shuffle.
Longest game in development, and so much more on the Triforce Podcast. But we're going to start on off with our first story, which is a linked kind of story. We start off on the DC side because DC is making an unprecedented new subscription tier that lets you read new comics only a month after release. So
wait, you can't read it after that?
Well, no, I mean, that's when they're available.
You can only read it for a month, and that's it.
Get it now!
Sounds like a library card.
I'm like, that plan sucks.
No, it's DC Universe's Infinite Ultra. They're making you go plus Ultra. Essentially, what I read from this is, you're getting that ultimate tier to where if you're already subscribed to the DC Infinite, if you upgrade, you actually get some bennies there. But the Ultra tier will be available at a discounted introductory price of $99 US for a year's subscription, which works out to be about like $8-9, right? And then until November 28th, the press release says. And then it won't be the discount rate after that, DC says. Like, you're going to pay after that. So get it now while it's hot. Starting in November, 5,000 graphic novels from DC's library will be made available on the app exclusively on the Ultra tier. And the subscribers who upgraded will also become eligible to receive a physical copy of an upcoming comic collection while supplies last. Beginning with the version of The Death of Superman 30th Anniversary Deluxe Edition, adorned with the Ultra Tier exclusive variant cover by Ivan Reyes, which is absolutely stunning, of just Superman decking Doomsday, as we see here. Super, super awesome. I love the fact that, the basic subscription tier is $75, and you gain access to those new comics after 6 months after their release. And they have plans to add titles for all ages graphic novel line, including books like Cami Garcia and Gabrielle Piccolo's YA Teen Titan series, and the Harvey Award-nominated Nubia Real One, and over 100 classic issues of Mad Magazine to all subscription tiers. So that's the first half of this story, because you have DC. Now I kind of feel like a month after release is really good if you are a comic fan, because if you want these new comic storylines, then like $8 a month. You save up $8 a month. Like, all right, now you have a year's worth of subscription. It's probably going to be like $15 a month once that special offer is done. And you get comics, brand new comics, a month after they're released and you're up to date, you also have access to all of those other comics. And then you have Marvel, not Marvel. And
Wonderful
their
stuff.
side.
It's white. It's got these things, striations through it. Pick it up
Good
for
for
your local
countertops.
kitchen. They have installers. They'll put it right on the counter.
Countertops, floors,
Just have a little bit more lemon.
columns if you're
Totally.
Greek or Roman. But then you have Marvel and their side. And then you have Comixology. And I'm sure that all three comic platforms have some certain kind of delay to when you get access to those available, storylines. Even to where with Comixology, I'd imagine they're probably at like a 6-month window. Hey, Connor. I imagine that, with this on Marvel's side, it's like I think a 3-month gap between storyline and release to the Ultimate. So there's that gap there to where DC stepping it up with the 1-month release is a nice answer. But the other story we have on Marvel's side is Marvel's scrollable, phone-friendly comics. Their gamble is paying off because in Big Brother, go to the story we have for Marvel Comics, the second one, and then scroll down until you see the comic appear, and then pop that on the main viewer to where in this story it's Marvel Voices, and they have this special series to where they'll take B-level heroes and characters and add them into their own series, like Nature Girl and Wolverine. You wouldn't think Nature Girl and Wolverine would actually make a good comic, but now you have this scrollable. Scroll down here till you can kind of get a idea as to what they're doing here, and you can imagine looking at this on your phone. And this is a comic book. It's going panel by panel, but it's just a continuous scroll for the whole thing. There's no page breaks. There's clear definition in the story and the characters. It's in your phone, kind of aspect ratio, but it seems like a logical progression for the phone generation of the guided view that Comixology has is really nice because it takes this, you go here, now your eye's supposed to go here, here, and here. This eliminates that guided view and just says, hey, dummy, scroll. That's what I really kind of like about this, to where now Marvel, we're going to leave that 3-month gap, but
So this is Man friendly.
We're going to give you this special thing to where if you are an unlimited subscriber, you like reading the comics on your phone, you're going to be enjoying separate storylines like Werewolf by Night that we're showing here. And what you're trying to do. It looks really good, And honestly, I'm really torn with these two stories just because of how good, and I read that comic when I was looking up this story, and it grabs you all the way through. Like, I am really thinking about going Marvel and DC, but I might just get all of them. I don't know. I might just stick with Comixology because I'm cheap. What do you guys think?
I think that it's a smart move on all of their parts to make it more consumable to the masses. Not a lot of people are going into comic book stores. You've seen a slump in sales for years in that respect. So whatever they can do to stay relevant and engage a new generation, I say go for it. It'll remain to be seen if it's worth the price because DC tried to do their own streaming service and they were dumping everything. They literally dumped everything they had into it. Their entire back catalog, a crap ton of their comics.
And people just pirated their shows and showed it online.
And it still wasn't enough. And even the price that they offered was very reasonable for that first year.
It wasn't bad. I wasn't going to pay, but it was reasonable. I remember
so
thinking
it's a gamble, and there's no guarantee of a payoff. But I do like that they continue to try to keep people engaged in the actual stories that made them.
It is nice that they try. But old man, what do you think?
So I'm a fan of like the actual medium of like touching a comic book. If I'm reading a comic book, but I can see the segue
Go in front
of
move
this
back.
digital
It's not that
medium
thing, it's Discord.
translating to
there
hardcore
we go. Thank you.
comic book fans of like seeing a comic book series, and then they might read that first issue and then read the second, third, fourth, or like continuation of that series
Mm-hmm.
in hardcover form. So
Well,
like-
that's the
like-
thing.
like-
I'm that kind of comic
said-
guy. I will read a line on Comixology and then be like, you know what? I actually do want to. I want to own that. Like Batman Who Laughs, you're next. That's how I got Doomsday Omnibus. I got a whole bunch of comics because I started reading stuff on Comixology, and I was like, you know what? I want to own that. I want to hold that in my hands to where I think Amazon is still a little life raft for physical comic purchases. To where you don't have
And
to go to a
that's
store,
where-
you don't have to go to a con.
That's where like those old store like comic book shops. There's like 80s 90s centric comic book shops that you don't see that are dying off because of the most recent years. I think
How's Comic Universe doing, by the way?
they're still out there.
Good.
They're still kicking.
Good.
The
Need to
digital
be.
medium has a place in this world. It does. I'm not saying it doesn't, but put it at an entry point where it will be accessible for everyone.
Yes.
And it has to find that that point of balance
Yes.
between price and enticement of like I really like that series. I want to own that series now.
Yes. But also
I
to
wanna
what you're
finish that
saying,
series.
to what you're saying with the electric, age, that Marvel scrollable comic, it's 30% more subscribers they've seen off of just having that as a bonus to your subscription, of fans being like, ooh, I get more content. All right.
Also, a point, and for this new streaming services, we don't know how accessible comic book shops are to a lot of people within this country and without, like, globally. So having another way to get this material,
You need a
is
lot of
definitely
capital.
well worth it. Yeah, and but then, like, let's say, and I know that this isn't big houses, but if there's like a trip, the downside for me is if they're doing direct from Marvel and DC, it's not helping these small businesses. But if these small businesses, like there is, I was trying to look up some comics based on indigenous characters, and I found a comic book shop, I think it was in Arizona, that not only had the regular copies of the comics, but the digital copies of the comics available for purchase right off their website.
Oh, wow.
So if you wanted to get one of their comics, it would be like, $4.99 or whatever for the actual book, or you could for $1.99 or 99 cents download the digital copy, and now it's yours, and in your drive or wherever you store it, and you can read it anytime that you want. There needs to be a balance there, because I would hate to see the death of the comic book
Well,
shop.
here's a little
But
interesting wrench
appreciate
I
them
want to
trying
put in.
keep people engaged and reading them in the first place.
Exactly. But I know I'm blowing Comixology because I'm a subscriber, but they also make it very, very obtainable to get those comics that are not DC and Marvel and Dark Horse.
Here's the also
and
benefit of having the digital form.
you have, like, my favorite, my one of my favorite other podcasts I listen to besides Rogan is Fat Man Beyond, and Mark Bernardin. He made an Eisner nominated. I don't know if he won or if it was even announced yet, but an Eisner nominated comic book for Adora in the Distance, and that is on Comixology. They have their own originals. They have you can sell your comic on Comixology, and it's going to you. They take their portion, of course, but it's going to you. There is that for the independent creator, just as a for instance, that you have that available.
So the benefit and the plus side of the digital medium out there is having that hard copy, not wanting to open that hard copy and reading it on a digital platform.
It's a
Because
collectible,
it's a
absolutely.
collectible at that point.
Yeah.
And also, it's more affordable. The digital copy is usually like a at least half the price of what the actual one is. And anyone who has a pull list knows it gets pretty expensive once they start rolling in.
Exactly. Those omnibuses weren't cheap.
They sure aren't.
Something else that ain't cheap. Well, that's making a cinematic universe, just like our next story. For a good segue, I won't hit the button. It's a little bit pompous. But it never stopped me before. I know. Marvel delays Secret Wars, Blade, and Fantastic Four and more. So Blade, Mahershala Ali said some not so flattering statements about the overall plot. I'll say direction of the Blade movie, saying there were like maybe one or two kind of action sequences. That doesn't really surprise me that they're delaying Blade, because Marvel has had, and fans of course are, oh my God, it's outrageous. But to me, it makes logical sense if you want to put out a quality product. And if that's your goal, is putting out a quality product, and you know that fans will not be happy with you phoning it in for this product, especially when you have the overly critical questioning the amazing shows like She-Hulk and, Loki and WandaVision and all these amazing shows we've gotten. People are overly critical in this day and age. So delays, I feel, are an inevitability. How do you guys feel about these delays? Because, it's only a couple months they moved most of these things back. They just delayed Blade until they get another director.
Outright calling them a liar. However, I feel like they're sneaking another movie in.
I mean, they had Thunderbolts. I feel like they really worked in.
They're moving things, and they may be doing reshoots, but I think it's because they're inserting something else into the story.
Well, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you have a lot of stuff that, cinematically, if you're going to be taking away, Blade was a movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if
And
you're
a
taking
TV show.
Several.
and if you're taking away that
So
cinematic
the
experience,
sixth
you're
verse
going to
was
be
3
moving up
movies.
something else or adding in something else. Maybe you're not going to wait until Kang Dynasty to have a Avengers. Maybe this is where they put in like a Young Avengers.
So
I think that they're moving around some storylines or changing some storylines, and they needed to do some research, reshoots, or change something in the storyline to accommodate whatever they're adding. I don't think it's just, oh, this movie isn't meeting our standards, because they haven't really given a shit about their standards in a little bit.
Fair point. Fair point.
So, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I could
Now,
be wrong, but I think there's something else.
Kevin Feige has said, or at least rumors have said, that we're not going to see mutants until about phase 6 earliest. Full on mutants. Obviously, we're going to get Deadpool and Wolverine in 2024. But honestly,
We're also getting Namor. That's supposed to be.
oh, he is, and he is confirmed as the first mutant. To where I'm thinking they're
Right,
just
so
talking
we're
about the
already
X-Men.
getting one.
But they call the movie The Mutants. So now it's just, you can't use X-Men. No, they can't be called X-Men. How about you just make an X-Force movie? Call them X-Team. I don't know. Be creative.
Come up with a different.
Come up with something better than X-Men, because
Gifted
that
students.
flowed.
How about
You're
that?
making a continuation of the show X-Men from 97.
Oh, you could call it the DC Universe.
Why can't we just call it X-Men?
I think that one's taken.
Even
X-People. I would even accept the woke name of X-People over the mutants. Since I've had some gestation period, how do you guys feel about X-People?
I think we need to get on to the next story.
We do.
boy.
X-People aside, this next story I'm excited about because it's Picard season 3. We got a trailer. The real awesome part about the trailer is not just that you're getting Deanna Troi, Geordie LaForge, Will Riker. You're getting the whole gang. a pacifist wharf.
Downstairs.
Well,
Like a
Google
full-on pacifist wharf. I love that idea. And then in the trailer, you see a new threat coming out that is just completely dominating, Starfleet. You can tell that from this scene we're seeing in the trailer from the Starfleet vessel, and obviously they're going to find Beverly Crusher because we got to have her in the final season.
Absolutely.
This is because obviously this is not going to turn into into a spin-off show.
Hope so.
That's not what they do.
This time.
It's not what they did since they started this streaming platform. No. Discovery, Strange New Worlds. I love you both.
Listen, I'm not hating on it, so continue.
But the part I love about this trailer is not only that you have this, like, I don't know if this woman is actually like something from the Next Generation, but we see lore, we see Moriarty. That at the very end, like seeing Moriarty pop up, hello, old friend. That got my nerd boner so hard because Moriarty I loved him as a character because Picard was Sherlock to his actual holographic Moriarty, and I just loved that.
Yeah, but Data's dead.
Oh, was it? It was Data.
It was Data.
Yeah, it was Data. Data's dead.
Picard had the detective thing, but there was a psychotic AI in that too, wasn't there?
The noir.
Yeah, the noir one.
Okay.
There was the person that stayed awake, and then Data did have Moriarty, but
Data was the Sherlock Holmes one.
yeah, and
Data was fascinated with Sherlock Holmes.
here's the thing: we just showed a portion of this trailer to where there were fireworks in space.
Yeah.
I don't think I need to repeat that, but I will. They showed fireworks in space.
So
Special
let's
proton
clarify.
plasma
Let's quantify this because the only place that we know of
All
that
right.
you can burn
You're-
fire is on Earth. Okay,
That's
and-
in
not true.
space in the Star Trek
and
universe.
for fire you need fuel, spark, and a very big thing that there's not a lot of in space: oxygen.
They add that in the
Just
little
because
missile.
there's not a lot of it doesn't mean that there isn't any of it.
There you go.
Quantify that.
You're not going to get fireworks. I really don't think you're going to get fireworks. I'm calling
Well,
bullshit
we
on fireworks
can't-
in space.
We
They got the
don't know if this is
technology.
actual space that we're looking at. We don't know
Or
any.
it could be projections.
Why don't you just go join
I
our-
think it could be-
I knew you were going to go holodeck with that.
Hologram,
I
I
little
was
hologram.
gonna say it's what makes the most sense. And one thing
Star Trek
that
is it literally is a religion because the most logical people will just explain the dumbest thing away. Like, no. There was just obviously a logical explanation for this. It was just a digital gremlin in the hollow matrix that made that appear at that certain time, and then it just vanished.
Oh, is that
absolutely-
all?
It's absolutely.
Well, doodle-doo.
With ships as sophisticated as they are, and we've already seen the AI becoming sentient.
Oh, no, she's
It's
being
not
hacked
out of
by
the realm
robot
of
overlords.
possibility that the ship itself, the sentient computer that's running the ship, to project something into space that looks like fireworks. Like it's not. That's not. I don't think that that's something that's beyond the realm of being programmable, or even being a simulation. We don't know anything yet.
Well,
So
I
let's not
just want to say
assume the worst.
I'm so glad that you're back because I've never been politely shot down like that since you've left.
So Matt.
Finally, an adult in the room. We've been waiting for an adult. We love adults.
Yeah.
I've
Where?
been looking for one my
Where?
whole life.
Where?
Matt.
Yeah.
So explain photon torpedoes then.
Well, actually, photon and
And
there's a very
Photons work different in their universe
exactly
as opposed to our
and
universe.
So
photon.
why
No,
can't
there's
the
a
fireworks
really
be made
great.
photon torpedoes.
There's a very good episode if you look up Because Science with Kyle Hill. He goes over the benefits of photon versus proton torpedoes, and he tells you which one are better. I can't remember which, but there is a scientific explanation for that, sir, that I don't remember that I watched.
Science stuff, right?
Boom! Drop the mic on over to this next story because Jamie
You
Foxx
didn't drop anything.
is actively pushing.
We have Mattsplaining, Mansplaining, and Treksplaining all in one segment.
And we got a title. Jamie Foxx is actively pushing Todd McFarlane to get the Spawn film, to get on the Spawn film, and I think everybody, including Jamie Foxx and the internet, and everybody who has a pulse, is on for him being main lead for Spawn.
I mean, he's very athletic and he takes his role seriously. I would rather have him for Spawn.
I mean, especially because, he's not method, but he does take the role very seriously, to where
He is awesome.
I can't wait to see what he did with Tyson.
Yeah, that's gonna be great.
Like, that's going to be amazing.
You still need John Leguizamo in that movie, though.
I mean,
You don't want to look at Jamie Foxx?
I'd rather the fans look at us than Jamie Foxx. He's way too beautiful.
Fair enough.
But here's the thing. I did not mind. And in fact, I will say, I liked the Spawn movie that we got. I thought it was
Yeah,
good.
with Michael J. White, yeah, that was
I
good.
thought Michael J. White, John Leguizamo, that was a solid movie. And it propelled
The
comic
Spawn
book movies to
movie
where we're
on
at now.
The Spawn animated series on HBO.
That's on HBO Max, and I haven't gotten around to watching that, but that is on my list to go through. I'm actually rewatching Luke Cage.
Keith David.
Okay. Yeah. No, I have that on my list. And I have been
Captain
meaning to get to
Anderson.
that because Spawn, the animated series, I think I've watched a couple episodes of that in passing
It
when I
is-
was back in the
It is
when I
one
had
of the best
free HBO.
storytellings in an animated show ever.
Back when I had free HBO as a kid, I'll put that. But I'm overall excited for the Spawn movie.
His parents paid for it.
And Todd McFarlane to get this universe moving because I actually, through, once again, Comixology, I got the chance to read Spawn comics. And
You've mentioned them enough. Let's.
it's honestly, it's a really good comic line to read through because it's not like unlimited power. There's a limit to your life force. Like, it's a direct correlation in the beginning of the comics that sells that.
He's more like E.T. phoning home, and he's like in that pod dying.
Yeah, and there's a lot more sense of urgency with him and his whole storyline to where you're like, oh man, dude, that's rough, bro. Like, oh, here, man, I got a shoulder to cry on, and this guy's a rough and tough guy. Like, I got a shoulder, man. That's all I got. I don't know. You got a rough life. Thank God I'm not you.
On that note,
But maybe he can
I
regenerate.
think that was a horrible segue.
It was. Maybe he can regenerate on over to this next story because we have the Power of the Doctor coming October 23rd, man. They had a trailer here, which it's amazing. It is the last journey that Jodie Whittaker will be taking as the Doctor. There it is. And we see the Master as well as Unit with Kate, and there's 12 paintings gone missing. The Doctor is talking with the Master, and the Master's very confident that she's going to see the last of her days. Regeneration is over, Doctor. And we see Daleks, we see Cybermen. We see a lot of different, honestly, really awesome footage. There's like a Cyberman like planet that's attacking the Earth and stuff. It's very interesting.
Are like
There's
their Borg cube or
the
their Death
the
Star,
train
whatever
through
you wanna
space
call
is
it.
back. It's just like a metro train though. And look, we know we're getting wackiness with the 60th anniversary. I just hope that I went through and I watched that 13th season all the way through the New Year's special. I watched it again. And the last season with Dan and Yaz, it was entertaining and it was really enjoyable. But I'm really looking forward to getting back to Russell T Davies helming the show, because like Katarina coming back, I know an adult is at the steering wheel.
Well, I think for me, I was always leery, not so much of the actress, but of the writer, even though he did some really great Whovian episodes, because he doesn't really do light things. And when you have
He was
someone
writing a
who-
cop murder show.
right,
That's what
that
he came
show
from, to
is
Doctor Who.
heartbreaking.
Like, ugh.
Doctor
And you
Who's
force
not a
them
cop
into these situations where you're not supposed to have that much gravity and everything. It was uneven. It was like he was trying. It was like somebody saying too many dad jokes and none of them are landing because he's not a jokey person.
I think Stephen
of
Moffat
course-
actually got it right more than Chibnall did. Now, granted, he had a lot more time to work out his idea, but Moffat was a fan who knew how to write the show
But he
for the
also
fans.
was someone that already knew what kind of doctor he wanted and then cast accordingly. Now they
Mhm.
had already been thinking about making.
Smith and
oh
Capaldi
gosh.
were great picks.
They were, but they already knew they wanted him before they had even started. They were offered those roles, you know.
Mhm.
And then with her, it was like they knew they wanted to go in a different direction. They knew they wanted to try to cast a female doctor. So he knew she's an astounding actress because she is. And he was like, cool. But he had no idea who the doctor was going to be.
Mm.
And had they taken that time to decide who they want this doctor to be and how they want these episodes to go, we wouldn't have gotten these episodes that were like up and down, up and down. None of the episodes were super terrible, but there was no continuity between one to the other where there was a consistent doctor.
Flux was
almost
the
like she was
only
trying
thing.
on a different hat every episode.
Yeah, Flux was the only
there
one
were
that
some-
had consistency, and that's because they're like,
Right?
hey, we're doing consistency now. And then you're like, well, it's too late. And it was the best of the Chibnall seasons.
I hate that for her, and I hate that for him. But I think it's just that they did not know what they wanted what they were trying to do when they first started, and it showed. And I hope that with this next actor, who's another brilliant actor,
Yeah.
that they have this doctor mapped out in such a way that we get that beginning, middle, and end that she should have gotten.
Yeah.
And I hate that for her. She's so talented.
She is.
And
She is really
brought
talented.
something as the doctor. She really did bring something unique to the doctor that I absolutely adored. I just wish the writing kept up with her.
I loved her as the doctor. That's a doctor that if you give me Big Finish audiobooks, I'll buy those because I want
Oh,
more.
yeah, absolutely. Her
I
voice
want
alone.
more. I want more
Her voice
depth.
alone.
I want more depth to her story. I mean, there's just so much because she has that deflection of companions that
Yeah.
you got with David Tennant. There are things that he did pull right in there. It's just like a 12-year-old made a collage. This is about my love for you. And that's about all you got. And you're like, wow.
It's like I don't know if you've seen the video of the little kid where he's trying to talk about his dream. You ever had a dream where you like think about, and then he's like, and you're like,
I'm going
we-
to look it up after this
can
show.
we get somewhere? And at some point you lose patience and you're not even interested in the story anymore. And it sucks for her and it sucks for him because both are talented in their own way.
Yeah.
They just didn't get a chance to really showcase that in Doctor Who. So I'm excited for the direction that it's going in. I'm sad to see her go, but I am looking forward because they seem to knock it out of the park with their big finishes. I hope they give her one that does her justice, but it is bittersweet. It's been bittersweet her entire run for me.
Yeah, and I mean that's the problem is that it has been bittersweet, and I mean I'm excited to see Power of the Doctor, but I'm even more excited for the 60th anniversary because I know David Tennant and Catherine Tate are going to be in it, and we're going to get some amazing stuff, and we're having our new Doctor. I'm imagining this regeneration is going to leave us off with a really awesome cliffhanger that we're going to be like, let's go, bud.
I'm so excited but terrified to see what happens between the Doctor and Donna because they had established that if she remembers anything, then she will deteriorate and die quickly. Like her brain just can't handle everything that has happened to her.
That's
And she
how she
literally
goes
shut
out like
down.
a hero. She's had a life.
But
She's gonna
I'm
go out like a
also
G.
so
She's
excited
had
to
a
see them
life,
together
and it's that
again.
one moment when she can say, "No, doctor, push him in. I'm saving you," and she like,
Yeah.
bop. You know, I could see so many
I'll
different
start
potentials.
crying right now. God damn it! On to the next story.
Exactly, because I can see potential in this next story because Super Mario does not have that classic accent because we have a trailer for Super Mario Brothers movie. It's not going that Sonic route. It's going animated. They're calling it that live action, but it's, you know, it's a Pixar movie essentially. And you see Bowser approaching the Penguin Kingdom. And the part that I really love about this trailer is how it's so serious. Bowser's setting up shop like, let's go. You're succeeding. And he is driving an active volcano through the air. So
I am negative 100 interested in this movie.
It's not dangerous, is it?
I mean, it's probably fine. He got it OSHA regulated.
Probably, yeah.
It's, you know, been approved by the EPA. The thing I like is they're so set up in this scene, and the Penguin King's ready to let them all go, and he's like, yes, and they all pick up snow and they're throwing it at the Koopas and Bowser, and they're just like, and this is a fraction of my power, and then he just lets rip some awful heartburn and destroys their kingdom. But ultimately, he gets the star. He gets the star, and then we end up seeing Mario. It's not a bad look to Mario. You know, it's not like that original Sonic trailer to where it was like, oh, bad touch. Mario looks fine enough. Ironically, and Kat, I'm sure you'll at least find this funny, but the internet had a problem with Mario. And it is the stupidest problem I think I've ever heard of because
What's that?
he didn't have a big enough butt.
What?
His butt?
Mario's butt was not impressive. He did not have a big enough
First
butt.
of all, I have heard this same complaint being said about Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, about Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. Y'all are obsessed with butts. Get over yourself. It's a fictional butt.
I mentioned Captain Marvel once, and I had no problem with Wonder Woman's butt. I thought it was an amazing butt. It was covered by a skirt. You couldn't see it. But no, I mean, come on, man. Get over his ass. Seriously.
Get over butt.
Get over his ass. He's nothing, man. It's fine.
Get over it. Just
I
get
mean,
over it. He's
Luigi,
not into
you
you
can't
anyway,
fuck him
guys.
up.
He's
I
not
just
into
want
you.
Megastar.
Megastar.
Every
just to
time-
be clear.
Every time he
Boys
talks,
and
I think they're
Megastar.
playing
You
an
heard it
audio,
here.
and then he just appears.
the
I was like, oh, that's him for real.
the constantly rear. Yeah, I know, right? I haven't hit any of his buttons, but that,
That was a good segue.
There we go.
That's it.
Like every time I hear his little voice, I'm like, oh, they're playing his audio. No, he's right there.
I mean,
All right. What do you want?
Mr. Blue Sky.
You want to play Mr. Blue Sky?
Yeah.
Then ask Google to play Mr. Blue Sky.
Well, I'm
that is such a. It's such a
I don't know
21st
what the
century
difference is. You can play
parenting
Guardians of
answer.
the Galaxy 2 on
Okay.
Disney Plus. There
You know
go.
what I mean? That's such a
Listen,
21st
You
century
can't tell
parenting
me
answer.
that if this technology wasn't available to our parents,
Oh
that
yeah.
they would have been like, go ask Siri yourself, like for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. What's this? I don't know. Ask Siri.
But
I'm from the outside generation. Just go outside.
I am
All right, you're gone.
not at all interested in this.
So, what'd you do
film.
today, kid? I don't know. I didn't look after you all day.
You know what? I told
I
this
don't
to
care what they do. It's not going to be as iconic as, Bob Hoskins and
Yeah.
John Leguizamo.
it was such a
And
crappy
I
movie.
forget King
but-
Koopa's name. It was so bad. It's good, and you can't
No,
top
that guy's
soundtrack.
name is escaping me, but he was in
Walk
so
the
many things.
Dinosaur.
I'm playing
Come on,
with Blue
man.
Sky.
What was that name? What was the name of that actor, old man? He played King Koopa.
Like-
He's been
Hopper.
Yeah.
yes,
Dennis Hopper, yeah.
so good.
There's a bomb on the bus.
He put his whole. He was like, "This is a shit show, but it's going to be the best shit show that I can put forth." You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Loved it. Loved it.
It was so great. You know, I mean, I'm enjoying the idea of giving this animated Mario a footing, because just like we gave Sonic a footing, you know, it was not a Sonic the Hedgehog video game movie. It was a movie about Sonic. This is a movie about Mario, but it's set in the Mushroom Kingdom. I'm willing to give it legs. You could make Princess Peach sound like Queen Latifah. I don't care.
I buy that.
Exactly. I'll
I buy
probably
that.
go to see it faster if you had Queen Latifah as Princess Peach.
You know, in my head, it's Carol Kane.
Okay.
I'm,
All right, has been
every
decided.
time you say Queen Latifah, I'm just picturing like the song of Living Single in my head.
And I'm
The 90s
imagining.
kind of world.
You know what I'm imagining?
What?
An A+ idea, big brother.
He went
Because A+ catering and events is exactly where you're going to go to find the very best in catering. And as these guys know how to make delicious food, okay? This is how I know, because they keep coming up with even more delicious food. That's why you're going to go to APLUScaterers.com.
Did you talk to them about samples?
Not yet, because I want to fluff them a little bit more, because they have amazing food, very talented chefs to help supply the most
That's
delicious,
8 months worth of fluffing.
the most delicious in delicatessens for your next event need. So hop on over to APLUScaterers.com. Our next story is one I think the old man will actually enjoy, which is we got a trailer for Dead Space remake, which honestly looks good. Big brother, you played this one too. Dead Space remake on aboard the USG Ishimura, just in time for Halloween.
It is an amazing game.
Especially with the
Doesn't
remake.
necessarily need to be
With
done.
what they
Like,
do with just how the game looks, mind the buffering and, you know, all that crap graphics for mine, go visit the, trailer on Polygon. But, oh yeah, there you go. Looks great. You have this kind of thought in your head. When you think about
Wow.
any kind of video game remake, like, this is what you want. Now, also, this is what you're remembering, not the buffering. But this is what you're remembering when you're like, oh, man, I used to play that game, and it was so awesome. And
lots of buffering.
and like that's what you're remembering is this kind of remake in your imagination, because when you go back to play that game, you're like, oh, these graphics are terrible.
Actually, the graphics are still not. They still hold up.
They still hold up,
They still hold up.
but they're just remaking it anyway. Like, we're gonna do it better. I'm all for that. Just like, I mean, give me any of the PlayStation 4 classic, titles in a remake status right now for the new console. Okay. Get those graphics polished up with the new engines.
Dead Space was 360 PS3 era. But for the
Those still to retroactively look at are not as bad as like going back to N64 and Dreamcast,
right, so like
or original
the-
PlayStation.
the games, so for the 360 version of Dead Space, it got the Xbox One X enhanced treatment. So it got the AI upscaling on it. So if you have it in your library for backwards compatibility, it takes care of a lot of the rendering and FPS issues that it had originally.
So the trailer came for just in time for Halloween. The game remake is actually going to be released January 27th of 2023 for PlayStation 5, Windows, PC, and Xbox Series X. But I want them to keep going, do different games like this. Like, honestly, I know we're getting the KOTOR, but give me a remake of Force Unleashed with graphic engines now. I want physics engines now, because that game really inspired the physics engines that we have now.
At that time was great.
Oh my God. You can go back, and I have been tempted to re-download that on my Steam and just go back, because you felt like a badass Jedi. Or Sith. And it was amazing. And that kind of level of game, I really hope we get back to with Star Wars, because Force Unleashed really showed Star Wars fans, like, I want that.
And how that little nod that in Obi-Wan to Force Unleashed, where he held down that carrier.
Now, what do you think? Have you watched Andor? Okay.
I told you what I'm doing.
Did you see any screenshots on the internet of the Stark?
I saw the armor.
I saw the
armor.
Now, on the armor, there's flare, like spikes and stuff. It's close enough. Do you feel like that's an introduction, like as an Easter egg to Star Wars? Like, this is just, I'm making this close enough to him that you guys think, there he is? Or do you think like this is an introduction to the character that they're going to eventually add him in like Cal?
To the character.
You don't?
I don't think it's an introduction to the character.
Okay. You just think it's a nice Easter egg to have in the background for nerds, like Master Plo's rebreather.
It's just a nod to the fans and say, "Hey, we acknowledge it, and we're moving on."
Because those holocron, there was a holocron and a Sith holocron and a Jedi holocron on his shelf, but they were like comedically embiggened.
Yeah, I just think it's just like a nod to the, hey, this was a cool character. We'll put the armor in here, and we'll move on. See ya.
A lot like this next story, because CD Projekt Red is moving on with a lot more projects, man. We're getting, they announced on Twitter that they're expanding the Witcherverse, but we're getting 5 new games from them, okay? One is a sequel to Cyberpunk 2077, which is codenamed Orion, along with a handful of new Witcher adventures. So a new RPG, they're going to be going with a new open-world RPG AAA trilogy for The Witcher. And we already knew we were getting a sequel to The Witcher Wild Hunt. We're going to get 2 other games on top of that. And then there's a full-fledged Witcher game separate to the new Witcher saga with Polaris that they're working on. Okay? And then on top of that, so you got 5 games coming from CD Projekt Red. You got,
and the thing that helped CD Projekt Red was the actual Netflix show, because it brought
that anime was amazing.
So many people to buy the game, to influx money into CD Projekt Red to get these games funded and the DLCs created, and to get other projects across the finish line.
It was a much needed infusion to get this franchise moving.
I haven't seen the show. I've seen like little screenshots and
it's amazing. That whole show is so good, especially if you're an anime fan and you've been sleeping on it. You need to watch it because it's so good. Pop it on your phone with some earbuds in and you'll enjoy it, because that show really made me, like, as I'm finishing that season, I was like, almost like, no, I'm not going to download it again. I don't have time. I got shit to edit. No, don't download it. I really wanted to play that game. So, and avoid all adult responsibilities. Okay. And
that's where you take a day off.
It was really, really good. So I highly recommend, if you have not checked out that Witcher anime, or the Witcher anime movie and the Cyberpunk anime, I mean, they're really donking it, Netflix, with their game properties, and all their game property stuff is
Netflix
really
with the
good
Witcher
story-wise.
series and the Cyberpunk series.
Oh yeah,
It really assisted, and it's a good symbiotic relationship that they have, because now that they know that the IPs that CD Projekt Red creates can translate into some level of forum
yes,
on Netflix.
exactly. I mean, and that's really why we're getting Super Mario, and we're getting all these, because Netflix proved if you let them create what the fans want, you will make money. They will watch it, and they will rewatch it.
So, not to backtrack, but like the Mario thing, a lot of voice actors really said that it should have been Charles Mignette.
I
the
agree.
Original voice actor, which to me,
it's not the Ahsoka argument, though. I feel
like there can only be one true voice of Mario, unless you're going live action.
It's not Batman, though. You know what I mean? When you're looking at the Mario voice actor, it's a me. You have that is as much Mario's character as Sonic's, whole face and quills are to his, and his love for chili dogs. That motherfucker better eat a goddamn chili dog in the next movie. But with Mario, flat ass and all, I'll accept him. It should have been the original voice actor, because there's no reason why. We had Bo-Katan. We got Bo-Katan on our platform for animated to live action. I don't feel that there's a reason we can't, this live action movie, we couldn't have gotten him in there. If he has a pulse, send him a check.
By the way, Jack Black as Bowser's great. That's a great
amazing. I love that casting for Jack Black. 100%.
So back to CD Projekt Red.
Yes.
Good infusion of money due to Netflix's assistance with The Witcher and Cyberpunk. So more power to them. I hope I get to see some of their other IPs that translate over into a different forum.
Well, I think also in a other article, I think I've read that they're also working on no. They also announced a brand new IP from CD Projekt Red, Handar, which is apparently in the earliest stages of production. So not only are they expanding their current content, they're also doing what a lot of Ubisoft companies do, is they just put out the same content and regurgitate the same idea with different sprinkles, Ubisoft, and they don't come out with anything new. They, at CD Projekt Red, however flawed that game was, and it was terrible, it was garbage. I mean, if you wanted to look up the definition of dumpster fire releases, CD Projekt Red is right underneath Anthem.
With what version? Like
any
Cyberpunk?
Yeah, like Anthem and Cyberpunk. If you were to do a versus, which one is worse? I'm saying Anthem was up there over Well, I don't know. Cyberpunk was horrible.
Cyberpunk was a limitation of hardware, not necessarily
the game
story.
Was great.
So
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky was just the idea.
Poor idea.
It came to fruition. So when the company came back and redid it, and they actually committed to it and just didn't dump it like BioWare did with Anthem, which was more EA's decision than anything else.
Fair enough.
Oh, and then EA screwed the pooch with Anthem anyway, because they also released Apex Legends, which was a free game, which botched the release of Anthem. If they just waited a month.
I mean, that was really horrible project planning.
And then they were still dealing with the aftermath of Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Nobody trusted you after that garbage fire.
So you had three things. So just that cluster of events just on EA.
So you're saying EA is the metaphorical equivalent to Detroit?
I don't blame
It's just
Anthem's
dumpster
failure
fire
on
after
Anthem
dumpster
alone.
fire, as far as you could see.
I blame
went over
Anthem's
that.
failure on EA's poor vision and trying to milk everything through a fucking loot crate.
So, like the U.S. government, it's all on poor management. Okay, I got it.
That's called failing upwards.
There's a lot of that around here, especially here. But overall, I mean, that's a lot of promise for CD Projekt Red, especially since with the new trilogy of Witcher games, you know, they're not just going to keep beating that Geralt dead horse. It's now Ciri, and it's her story. She's a trained Witcher. That's also giving Netflix more content once that actress grows up. Got to get that content. So, you know, time jumps aside, I think it's a great idea. A lot like if this next story's company could have conceptualized the time jump, well, probably wouldn't have been a story, because Beyond Good and Evil 2, do you remember that game? Yeah, your dad was probably talking about that game. And it has broken Duke Nukem Forever's record for longest development time for a game. Building a time machine to tell my 15-year-old self not to get too excited about that E3 trailer, the Beyond Good and Evil 2 has been in development for longer than Duke Nukem Forever. And old man, me and you always reference the
Too human
reference, because that was 10 years.
Ha! Not
Yes.
longer than Star Citizen.
Well, they'll get there. They'll get there. Well,
Star
it'll be a
Citizen's
story in the
delightful.
in the future.
Any mention they can get.
So actually, Beyond Good and Evil
Hello
2
there. Do you know Gray Fox?
officially crossed the threshold about 100 days ago. Well, more than that now. That was the time of this article writing. So Duke Nukem Forever lasted 5,156 days. The first trailer for Beyond Good and Evil 2 came out on May 30th, 2008.
Which is right around the time that Too Human released.
One soul ends, the next begins.
08 was
Eddie,
yes, buddy.
I have a question.
Yes.
42.
Can you get the timer off the Switch, please? Because it keeps counting down every single, it feels like every single 10 seconds.
Okay. Guess what?
What?
I love you.
Love you too.
Found it.
Now, go fix this.
Okay, so can you?
Right now.
I will. Go ahead and play. I'll fix it on my phone right now. Love you, buddy. Can you close my door? Thank you. Don't close my door.
See, that just speaks to the parenting level, because I would have given him the same advice that my first senior technician gave to me. And he said,
Fuck
okay.
out and shut the fuck up. Now show up on time.
No, it was even better, because it proceeded to tell me a story about his mentor exploiting him for money. But he said, look, I'm not going to do what, my mentor did to me and tell you to go to Wawa and get me a coffee. I'm going to tell you this. Pretend like you're on a desert island.
Well, that's helpful.
I fixed his time on his Switch.
That was it. That's all I got. And that's how I'm here. So, longest,
Anyway, so what I was going to say is
longest
2008,
development time.
2008 was Assassin's Creed,
Ooh.
Call of Duty,
Ooh.
Mass Effect.
Ooh.
All three of those games all at the same time. 2009 was Fable 2, so we'll not talk about that one.
I enjoyed parts of it. It wasn't Fable 3.
No. Well, yeah.
I mean, I would rather watch Godfather 3 than play Fable 3. That says a lot. I would rather watch insert any bad movie here than play Fable 3 on that bombshell. we end
Fantastic
off
Four 90s.
we end off this podcast the same way with our end segment. End. Ho! I thought of a good one, man. I mean, Avatar Last Airbender, I think it came around an anniversary or something. And what I wanted to do, I thought an interesting end segment. Oh, hang on, we're recording. I'm going to pee real quick, and then we'll do the end segment. Oh, man, I really have to pee.
That's an interesting answer. That's his bending power?
If you listen, you can hear it.
Cat, I'm just watching your face. It looked like you semi dozed off there.
No, I was reading. I was reading the rest of that article, and then an unnatural sound reached my ears. It's almost like a tea kettle. Are you okay?
Man, if I held that out any longer, I would have been vibrating like the Flash.
We're professionals.
Whew. It's all right. I'm recording the whole thing. I'll just see whatever you guys did later.
I got 2 minutes.
And laugh my
I said
ass off. So, end segment. We will start with you, old man. And I've just been. I'm sure there was I think it was like a 20th or 30th anniversary of Avatar: The Last Airbender. So I thought, which of the Avatar: The Last Airbender series elements, the bending powers, would you most want? Earth, air, water, fire. Callie said wind. And he has a big bag of wind, so that makes sense. So, old man, what is your bending power that you would have?
That's I would go earth.
I saw you fire, because with fire, that's electricity, and that leads to IT. If you could just touch a computer and be like, hang on, fire bend, lightning bending, it's fixed. I feel like that's where you would go. You would just,
I'm just
you would find the way to be the IT bender.
I'm basing it more so, because my eyes are not getting any better. I would rather be able to see without, if I go blind. So I'm going earth bending just based on my needs.
I mean, earth bending would be helpful. I mean, you could always just throw up a cocoon, Like, I don't know, I'm falling. Just make a steel cocoon, because then you can embrace that earth bending, right? And learn metal bending. So that's logical to me, because I immediately kind of went towards earthbending for my choice, because I felt it was a logical step because of, style of martial arts I learned was a lot more of that stomp kind of stuff.
Part of me just says, I just don't want to waste time driving, so I would probably be, an
dude,
airbender.
you would save so much in fuel and maintenance.
I would just be an airbender. But you could also do the same thing, but you can also do the same thing as
firebending would be very hazardous when traveling with your family.
Yes, and you would have to worry about.
You didn't like your hair anyway. You said it earlier.
You would have to worry about setting the world on fire if you go high enough in the.
You
jet
would
stream.
have to worry about starting a great big flame down in your heart.
Don't fall out. Reference me, boy.
But ultimately, I like earthbending for you, because I feel like, also with earthbending, could you imagine, those YouTube videos of those guys in like Uganda or whatever making like the Taj Mahal out of mud? Could you imagine earthbending like your house? Be like, nah, made that house. You kidding? That's made out of like marble. I know. I'm a hell of a bender. Like being able to make
the countertops myself.
That's your house? Looks remarkably like the Library of Alexandria. Like, I got a lot of land.
Yes, here's the permit officer.
Is that Caligula's casino? You damn right.
Could you imagine the construction company I would have?
Man,
yes, it only takes me 5 minutes.
all you need is Avatar: The Last Airbender and capitalism, and that's all you need for an idea.
All you need is lunge. That's the LLC name. All you need is lunge.
So ultimately, we have you as a earthbender. Katarina, where are you in your bending nation?
Well, let me roll it back a little bit. I have always identified as a hobbit ever since I read the books. Something about their lifestyle just really appealed to me.
What about the Harfoots? I hate that.
Yeah, the Harfoots. The
They could just
Harfoots
be-
are like
Oh my god, I really hate that. Just get in a fucking
the,
hole
the
already.
Harfoots are before they got their medication right to level them out. You know,
I
this is
want
when they're
somebody to
still-
medicate them motherfuckers, because
Yeah, I
god
never
damn.
thought you could make Lord of the Rings boring. But there you
You
go.
have to understand.
Boring as all.
You have to
fuck.
understand why they are that way. You have to understand why they are that way. And
Yeah.
we're not going to do any. We're
Because
not
they're
going to do
not
any
good
Tolkien
writers.
adjacent slander here.
They're just not good writers. Them, they're in a little
Anyways,
club with the
which
Game of
also
Thrones
segued
people.
into me
Don't know what they're
being-
doing.
Don't get oh, that's nice. But
Steven.
don't get Big Brother started on the Game of Thrones or the Lord of the Rings. It's
Anyway.
it's a sore subject. I'm
So,
enjoying those shows, by the way.
anyways.
Yes, go on. Your bending preference.
I'll
Oh, yeah, that's
I'll
what we're
wait until
talking
you guys
about.
have calmed down. Go ahead. Let me know when you're ready, boy.
Thank God we're recording. And credits galore. And amazing.
Which segued into me being a Hufflepuff. Same thing. Perseverance.
Mhm.
Common sense. Just kind of finding that balance between yin and yang, kind of gray Jedi kind of thing. And that, of course, led me to earthbending.
Mm.
You can do lava bending, metal bending, sand bending, excuse me. They were
Yeah.
taught by the badger moles, and the badger's the emblem for Hufflepuff. I mean, it all ties in so beautifully. And to earthbend, you need to have the most control over yourself. You can't
yeah.
be too emotional in either direction, and you have to wait for the right moment to present itself, and then you have to strike decisively. And Toph, her character just was like this perfect embodiment of, she was sassy, she took no shit. She did not allow the fact that she was blind hinder her in any way. But when
She
it came
founded a
time to
police
fight,
force
she was,
and discovered metal bending. Like,
and she was the strongest one when it came time to fighting, because she was 100% secure in herself, in her abilities, and in what she had to do. There was no hesitation there, and that always appealed to me. Of all the characters, she was the most grounded. Haha.
Yeah.
As the
I
earthbender.
see what you did there. No, I really like
but
that.
that is why I also chose earthbending.
I
A
like
bit
that.
more detail than Chris put into it.
I
We
mean,
ended up at the same place, just the same.
ultimately, I'm kind of stuck between earthbending and firebending, and the reason
You're stuck
being,
in a rock and a hard place.
I see what you did there. Puns galore, but I got a button for that. Where is it? So,
Well, not to mention, I think Earth is really the only element that no matter where you are, you can call on it.
yeah. But I was always stuck between fire and earthbending, and it's almost down to my turn two, which is a horrible representation. Well, you can't really see it,
No, we can't see.
Can't-
but it's
And blurry.
it's a tiger and a bull, and that's almost the same kind of representation.
Yeah, but
of
earthbending, you
earth
can
and
actually
fire.
just like tunnel through the earth to travel. as well. So like if you really wanted to.
But
You could
that's,
even compress things to.
that's
together
where
to, like,
I'm kind of stuck, because
make the distance shorter.
my personality is more of a firebending, I'll say, mentality, and I'm also more I would say subconsciously like grounded in earthbending. But ultimately, I would probably, just to differentiate, but I would probably go with firebending because it would be so useful, and especially with a mechanic like, oh, you don't have spark. Boom, buddy. You're going right down the street to the other dealer. But no, I mean,
Because
just
now I've blown out your catalytic converter.
I'm blowing up your engine. But no, it's just I like the fire bending is, I think being able to use that and then converting that to electricity is all they really went into. But especially with fire, there's a lot of different things that you can go application wise too. And you will always be able to heat something up. Okay. So I'm ultimately going to go firebending.
The ability to produce lightning was never solely on a firebender. It was just learned by General Iroh, and he taught it to everyone who was a firebender because he didn't teach it to any other clan.
Well, nobody taught how to do swaying motions to everybody else. It's some things are specifically generated.
We'll learn it eventually.
Towards
eventually,
Let the
other
man have
people
his
discovered
firebending.
where sail
Just like-
He learned the technique from waterbending, actually.
Well, just like when you look like waterbending, bloodbending, they look at different techniques to where they haven't really explored it. That's why they are getting all these different shows that they're working on so that they can explore this universe and show, hey, there are so many different variations of every style of bending, to where I feel firebending, if you would follow a more ground, you would get more of the lava and embers. You know what I mean? If you followed air, you would get more of like a fire tornado. That's a natural event. Ask Californians. They know. They've probably seen it. I've seen it on the internet. There are things that they can add in there from nature that they've already just done that I think that you can really use to expand it to where, yes, firebending or earthbending rather has been very, but also when you look at that map, that Earth Nation is huge, bud. It's like Russia compared to the other countries.
Rooted.
I mean, Africa. Africa's way bigger.
Sure.
On that note, I gotta go.
Later, buddy. Big brother, what is your ultimate bending style?
I'll pick the one nobody else picked.
Water bending or air bending?
Water seems cool.
All right. Seems cool. That's good enough.
Your logic
Seems cool.
is sound.
I have no oppositions to that.
No.
But ultimately, air, earth, fire, and water make a great band in a different order. But we end off this podcast the same way with the thank yous. Want to thank you out to Mary Duncan, Sharon Kane, Reginald Francis, and Linda Ayla, as well as Mark Gervais, Moisel Robinson, Matthew Kennedy, and Frank Percy, as well as you, Loyal Waljangard, for tuning in and checking out the podcast. We want you to tune in to Lugnuts every time they go live, record over on facebook.com/Lugnuts podcast. And of course, this is none other than a long drawn out goodbye. And I am your host, Matthew Bugro, the Mat Man. We had Christopher Bristow, the old man. We have right to my left, Katerina Thermoscara, wonderful woman, as well as our omnipotent presence that is Stephen Bugro, big brother. Our mascot, Hero Time, laying around here somewhere. That's a half-ass ARF. And until next time, we love you. We miss you. We want to see you then. Game on, Walljaggers. Bye-bye.
Oh, no, we got to end it.
Shutting it off. That's awesome.
Bye-bye.
I mean, we could start off with the stuff we have in the live folder.
Forever.
And what I did, old man, once you get back video wise, what I did is I have two screens that are active. One is for the stories, which was just up, and then another is for the chat we have. So that way Big Brother can flash between the story we're talking about and us as we talk. So that's my kind of go around. So that way it still kind of assembles the same kind of show. We'll start off the end credits with Wakanda Forever trailer, man. Marvel finally released that beautiful bean footage. And it starts off very much, holding Black Panther's helmet, so it's not going to go well, at least for him. Showing off some very Mayan Aztec-looking writing, and then Namor, so we know what we're doing, because who we're talking about, because there's blue people. And they're really setting up the Atlantis Wakanda battle that is building here. Even a little bit of glimpse of what looks like Atlantis, as well as Namor going to his throne in the sea. Already looking different from Aquaman. But I'm excited because we see he has wings. He looks very comic accurate. And apparently, from what the cast is saying, they're saying there's still a surprise behind the Black Panther that we're getting in this movie. So I'm really excited for it, man. I think this trailer just makes me want to go to the theater opening day, especially because it's all the family. Obviously, somebody, not all in the family. That's a different show. But November 11th.
Moving on up.
And here, there's a lot of stuff that we see in this trailer that it's so Wakanda, and
That's so Wakanda.
it's also awesome because we get Riri Williams as Ironheart. We get a look at her suit flying around. It just looks like they are infusing the comics the right way. And with Black Panther, this has a very, very high bar to satisfy. You know what I mean?
It does.
It's really hard to beat that first movie, especially when the guy that made it really pop is dead in the movie and in real life.
Correct.
Oh, that's a shame for him.
Like it's you can switch back over to us. It's one of those things, man, that I think that Chadwick Boseman brought a certain gravitas to that role. It's not necessarily something that is,
All my chicken.
not replaceable.
I ate all my chicken.
You ate all your chicken?
Oh, so good.
So can I have my pretzel?
Yeah, you can have your pretzel. Bring me the bag.
Oh, I thought he said Pepto. Well, yeah, you can have your Pepto.
You're sick. You're a sick fucker.
Bismol.
Pepto Bismol.
Does he have stomach problems too?
No, it's good for nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
And diarrhea.
This
Hey!
is not an ad.
Not an
Excellent.
ad.
And we have sound this time, so this is going to be podcast number 342. Talking about our next story in the end credits. So essentially, Hugh Jackman is back as Wolverine in Deadpool 3 with Ryan Reynolds coming 2024. Now pushed back, as we found out in the podcast in November of 2024. Even still, Wolverine and Deadpool. How are you feeling about this?
Oh, I'm loving that. I'm gonna love that. I'm just happy for it. That's all.
I mean, the fact that
nothing else needs to say.
Hugh Jackman played coy, like, no, I can't play Wolverine. No. And then he just comes out.
Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe management was shit. Now management's better.
And then he comes out like, oh, you're doing that? All right, yeah, man, makes sense. Let's do this. And
Good job for getting your shit together.
their awesome Twitter stuff they released was very nice. So our next story. It's the last one of the stuff that I really wanted to talk about from news gone by, which was Honestly, it kind of makes me sad, but it really doesn't matter because we have AI. James Earl Jones retires his voice as Darth Vader.
So I want to give the guy his retirement.
No, work him to death, damn it!
So after finding out that 90% of Obi-Wan was done with AI for Vader's voice.
Wow. That's great.
So that tells you the level of quality that we got.
That gives a little bit more power to the writer, you think? Because you're
Correct.
literally Vader's voice when you get that approved. Okay, yes, we will put that in the show.
And then the only thing you need James Earl Jones is like, what would your cadence be? Like, come in, just give us what your cadence would be, and we can just emulate the AI to do that. And that's all you have to do. I mean, you could pay. He can take his quick check and go.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to be in a sound booth recording those lines all the time now.
Well, and even still, you can evolve this technology to
In multiple fucking languages too.
Well, and then you can take this technology and then incorporate AI learning to where it goes through all of Vader with James Earl Jones and then learns how his cadences are when he says these things. And then we just have a constant Vader.
You do not understand the power of the dark side.
Or AI.
We're
But
at that point, man.
we are at that point. For them to hit that subscribe button right there, right above my head, is going to be the very best Purge Hangers and Wall Hangers video for you. And of course, right above covering Old Man's head is every single Triforce podcast in a playlist. And of course, our podcast does not end until we hear our main man, Connor, say
Bye.
bye-bye.
Bye.